Hi everyone. So I'm Gavin Dennis. I'm a cybersecurity consultant. I I lead a few initiatives in the Caribbean. For example, I lead the Caribbean Cybersecurity and Privacy Association, which is an association for Caribbean people and for the entire industry in the Caribbean to help us develop into an international hub for cybersecurity and data privacy. I also lead G5 Cybersecurity, which is a company that provides services to businesses and people in cybersecurity and privacy. And I also lead the G5 Cybersecurity Foundation, which is a nonprofit helping Caribbean people to live better lives. Um, I'm originally from Jamaica, but I'm currently living in Germany. I've worked in security for, I think, maybe 7, 8 years now, I think. But I've been working for about 12 to 13 years. So I started working at age 17. So I've accumulated quite a bit of experience in different fields. And I do it all within security.
Okay. All right. So, as you probably can tell, there's quite a lot of title to under your name. Well, above your name. Can you expound on
So,
some of those titles, if you don't mind?
so, so I have a few of the popular certifications in the cybersecurity field. For example, CISSP, which I think is Certified Information System Security Professional. I have a cert called CISM, which is Certified Information Security Manager. CASP, which is from CompTIA, Certified Advanced Security Practitioner. So I think I have about five now, and one of them expired, which would have made it six. But over time, I accumulated them. So I started out getting my first cert in about 2014. And then, over time, one by one, each year I did one. And, it built.
Okay. All right. Before we move on, question about certificate. So, you probably get based on the responses from Tremaine and Oswald, which I also share regarding certificate and being a full stack developer, or just any aspect of development. So, when you come on to security specialists, certifications, is it important?
Yes, it is important, and it's more important than a degree. The fields are a little different. So for development, it's not such a big deal to have a certification to prove that you are competent, right? But on the security side, it's very, very important because of how they are structured. For example, to earn the CISSP certification, it means that you have to gain 5 years experience. So apart from passing the exam, you have to submit an application to become certified, and a part of that application means you have gained 5 years relevant experience in the field. So when I go into a room and I say to someone that I have CISSP, they know that I have experience directly relating to security. So, and if you contrast that with a degree, right? If you look at a degree now at most of our universities, and you look at a degree, like the degree they're offering now, and the curriculum and the degree they offered 5 to 10 years ago, very little has changed. So with certifications in for the security and privacy field, they usually expire after 3 years, or they're usually refreshed after 3 years to match what is happening in the industry, to match the terms, the technologies, the practices, and the developments which have happened. So someone with a certification in my field, um, it proves that they are keeping up to date, or they have relevant knowledge, and not passing from a syllabus which has been recycling for 10 years straight. So it's different, and it is very, very important. And I don't have a degree. So yeah, so that's important to note. I didn't go to university.
Oh, quite interesting. Um, so another question. before we move on, is someone asked earlier what's the step towards like becoming an ethical hacker, and if taking on a job in software security or cyber security, what's the first certification would they need to do it, especially in Jamaica or the Caribbean, and the cost structure around that.
So I think someone is okay. Someone wasn't on mute. So ethical hacker. Just a quick disclaimer before I talk about it. A lot of people tend to directly jump to ethical hacking and pen testing when they think about cybersecurity, but there's a lot more that you can do other than hacking and pen testing. It's very, very wide. So if you're thinking about cybersecurity, don't immediately jump to pen testing or hacking, because there are a lot of things that you can do in security that has nothing to do with hacking, as in you're not a hacker. Um, to start out with to get into ethical hacking, I recommend that you start out with a network related course such as CompTIA and Network Plus, because almost every single thing in security is based on networking. So if you don't understand networking, IPs, DNS, how network traffic works, then you will have a very hard time understanding why something is a security issue, or just understanding security in general. So start with a networking course. VTI, I know VTI offers some good networking courses, VTI in Jamaica. So I would suggest you start with a networking course, and then from there you do an entry-level security certification similar to, such as CompTIA Security Plus or ISC squared SSCP, and those are entry-level certs. So start with networking, understand the concepts, understand how traffic works and all of that, and then you do an entry-level cert. And after that, then you can consider ethical hacking, like CEH, Certified Ethical Hacker. But get the foundation first. Don't just jump in and say you want to hack. Don't try to skip the process, or you just won't be very good.
So one of the questions that I was asked on Sunday, and this geared towards security, Gavin, what it is like for you working with developers, especially because you're in software security, you don't necessarily touch on software development, but of course, both work hand in hand, because every website, every application needs some form of cybersecurity mechanism to ensure that there's no form of malicious attack or so forth. So what it is like for you to work with software developers in your field?
So it's a that's a good question. So one of the things that I've been trying to work on as a goal is to get software developers to build security into whatever they're creating. The big problem I realize over the past few years is that most software developers aren't paid to integrate security. They are paid to make something work and to ship. So they don't really get the time to make it secure, because most of the time the companies just aren't paying to get that done. They just want something to work and then it ships. So what's happening now is that you have web apps being built in 2020 with the same security vulnerabilities from 10, 15, 20 years ago. And even though there are all of these new languages and new programming languages, applications and various types of software still have the same vulnerabilities being pushed to production. So I would love to see software developers getting greater opportunities to build security in, whether that means you have a guy who is, or a person who is making the code work, and then there's another dedicated person on the team who is responsible for ensuring security gets built in, because I think it's difficult for software developers to be great at making functional code and also making secure code. So I think there might need to be a role that starts to develop in development, where there's a person who is just purely responsible for creating secure code, or at least ensuring that functional code eventually becomes secure before it gets to production, and not just to make it work. So I think for the developers here, and the ones who are already experienced and the ones who are trying to start out, if you build websites, if you build web applications, try to integrate security as a charge, as a service, and as a part of the process before you ship software. So it might mean that that customers will start to give you a pushback to say, hey, money, the cost, but try to sell them on the value of security, because if you build something that is highly functional, but someone can tear it apart and compromise that app in just a few seconds, then it will also reflect poorly on you, even if you were not being paid to make it secure. So just, that's just my thing, because I do a lot of web app testing, and it's something that I see as a huge room for improvement. Developers now in 2020 building things which are considered as secure. So try to integrate security, try to charge your clients for that additional benefit, and in addition to making the thing work. And for the university students and the newbies, there's a lot of opportunity for you to specialize in secure code, not just functional code, but secure code, whether it's DevOps or just making code secure. There's a lot of opportunity. That's like a niche to focus on, because people like, maybe say Tremaine, they just like to build and make things work. But there will be people like you now who can come in and say, okay, you're the person who is just entirely devoted to making the thing secure. Going through the OWASP top 10, going through the OWASP application security verification standard, and just taking that and adapting it to whatever is being built. So that's my take as a pen tester and web app security pro. There's just a lot of room for developers now to integrate security into whatever they're building.
All right. So there's a follow-up question, but because what you just said, I have a pre-follow-up question. So due to the landscape of software development in Jamaica, I can honestly say developers are under a lot of pressure to produce something high with a probably low pay or little amount of time. But so there's not enough time to invest in software testing and software security. So if you should recommend, or if you have anything that you basically have a guide, okay, how can developers get started in software security, and how they can simply implement tools that will make their whether website or mobile application more secure. What would it be? Well, before you answer, like for example, I personally use Cloudflare, which add a lot of security to a lot of websites. Two-factor authentication. Every single app I use built. A majority of them have two-factor authentication. Turn off XSS in okay, I don't remember that security vulnerability. So because I'm losing like the memory of what I was going to say as example,
Yeah.
what tools would you recommend for developers to get started with in soft security
So
or like our mobile applications?
first I'd recommend getting a guide, and I'd recommend using owasp.org, so OWASP.org, and they are a non-profit entirely dedicated to web application security. So they have something called the ASVS, which is the Application Security Verification Standard, and that has about like 141 different controls that you should implement for any web application, right? So that is an excellent guide. They have a whole lot of resources. So it doesn't matter what you're building relating to web apps, they have a lot of different content to help you understand what type of security requirements you should build in, why it's important, etc., such as having password reset, allowing someone to paste the password, identity management, how to handle sessions, ensuring that when someone logs out, their cookie is no longer valid. So owasp.org is where I think someone should start. And as you go through their content, it will point you to different pieces of software that they recommend for each aspect of security when it comes to applications. So that's where I recommend that you start. The tools are linked on their website and in their different publications, whether it's a blog post, whether it's a testing guide, whether it's a standard that they're offering. The tools are linked. So once you go to that website and you start to use what they're recommending, you will be pointed to the different tools.
Gavin, you just added 3 more months to my development process. How dare you?
Yeah, I wanted to jump after you, Tremaine.
No,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
putting on
why.
Gavin because
That's
Gavin
why you
just
should
add
get.
3 more months to my development process. So when I tell a client, boy, it's going to take a certain amount of weeks, though I'm in the back of my mind after Gavin just spoke, I'm like, right, I need to charge them more.
No,
And
you need to charge them
No,
more,
it's
but
a bit
get
more,
someone
but
else. Get someone else to do the security side.
the thing
I
is,
don't think
Gavin,
it. Yeah, I
Gavin,
don't think it's
you cannot put
feasible.
security as a line item on your invoice. You cannot put that
No,
as a
include it in it. So development and security, include
the
it in
cost,
it.
right?
Yeah, include it in it, because trust me, if you ship that to them and then they realize, and then a week later that software gets hacked and they realize that, well, security wasn't considered at all, they are still going to blame you for it, even though they didn't want to pay for it. They're still going to blame you for it.
Perhaps, but remember, security, well, like most other things, it's really an economic question. I mean, for example, some of the biggest tech companies we have now, they got to $1 billion companies and they were not very secure. Take Google for instance.
Back then.
Huh?
Back then. Yeah.
Sure, but then you might, so you're going to spend, Tremaine is going to spend 3 extra months locking down every single thing. By then, the other guy done gone with all of the market share already.
No, get someone else on the team who is focused entirely on security. So that's the thing. Like, no, you can't get away with that now. Like 10 years ago, sure. But like okay, take for example, the government lost 90 something million to some hack that happened during a workshop, right? Now, back then, companies weren't facing these major attacks. But now, because of how everything is advanced, you have things in the cloud, you have
just
a whole lot of development, a whole lot of automation where if you put a website now online within maybe 5 minutes, I can tell you that there's someone who is trying to attack it.
Yeah, but you see the SSH logs all the time.
Yeah, so but back then that wasn't such a big issue, but right now you can't avoid dealing with security. Like you just can't. A lot of times you don't hear, like a lot of businesses now, they get hacked, but you don't hear about it because they don't even know that they got hacked. Right? Trust me, I do this every day.
I've heard stories. What
Yes.
what I think about my approach is pretty much, well, let's be honest. Most of us, if we're doing web apps, most of us are developing using some form of framework, whether you're in Rails and Django for the old timers like me, or some fancy new JavaScript flavor of the month framework. So in my case, I pretty much look into what the framework itself offers in terms of security. So for example, I know Django, they do a lot of middleware that handles, the XSS, the ORM, the CSRF, and all of that. But as I said, it really is an economic question, because when they need it now, and sometimes you do for some type of things you can take the risk. I mean, if you're not processing like financial data, health data, so on, for some type of things, not everything is a nuclear bunker or Fort Knox.
but it's based on where the world is going now. It will be very, very difficult for you to avoid it. Like for example, let's say you build an app and it's supposed to deal with like health data or personal data, right? You build it and they know that security isn't a part of what they paid for. You see, unless you get that documented that they are waiving this requirement for you to build security in, if their app gets hacked and then the government comes down on them with some data protection law, GDPR comes down on them, they are going to try to find someone to pass that off to say, oh, it's not our fault. The developer gave us insecure software, blah, blah, blah. So you will also have to think about the legal implications of not explicitly asking them to pay for security, because of just how the world is going now with every country trying to implement a data protection law. So it's the landscape itself in which you are developing. That landscape is changing.
It is.
You cannot avoid security or privacy.
I know Akil wanted to get in something here. Akil?
Oh yeah, thank you. I want to completely agree with Gavin. I don't think there's any good excuse to push security to the side or leave it to the end of the process. You want to have it as early, included as early, and that's like that's one of the core tenets of the DevOps culture. As Gavin was saying, you want somebody on your team who has this focus, and I'm not saying like somebody in the corner that you talk to every now and again. I mean somebody involved in the process early on to say these are the practices we should follow. This is what we want to do. If you are a solo developer, there are still best practices. There are still a lot of automation tools. There are tools built in that will do, like for example, if you're building images, there are tools that will scan your Docker images for you. You can evaluate those the CVs that it finds. There's so many things to help you do security. It won't be as good as somebody completely dedicated, but I don't think there's any good reason to push it off to the end.
No, so I would say that both you and Gavin, in a perfect world, you're absolutely right. Tremaine will tell you, I'm a capitalist bastard, and I talk to a lot of capitalist bastards like me. And so okay, well, so at what point do you draw the line? And sometimes the business is willing. Sometimes the business is willing to take that risk to get to market sooner.
Yeah, but get them to explicitly say that they are taking this risk. And don't just ship. So get them to sign off to say.
But Gavin,
everyone, calm down. We're focusing on career today.
Okay, one last thing, just to add to the capitalist speech. If you, Gavin, I mean, I understand. Right now, I go on Instagram and I see a ton load of people offering their web development services for free. So the market is getting to a point where it's saturated, where everybody's a web developer. Now, if you're taking on an economic standpoint where, all right, I'm going to ask them to sign off or to waive their rights as it relates to security, that could be the difference between you getting an income for a period or not getting an income. So yes, it is valid, because where I work, we do this. I think we have to do this every 6 months. We do this gamification of security. So we have to participate in a game to ensure that whatever code we write, it is secure. So that is built into the company's culture. But however, as a solo developer, you'll find that you're competing against other developers that will just throw the rule books out the door just to get to point Z. So yes, you are. I mean, it's a consideration that I've always had on the table as it relates to security for my applications. It was just never brought to the forefront until now. So thanks for that, Gavin. But from an economic standpoint, I think most developers will say, boy, here I go on. We need this food. We need to eat. I'm going to develop your app. I'm going to move on, you know?
And not just the business, sometimes, not just the developer, sometimes the business itself.
But there's opportunity in that, because if you have everyone who is claiming to be a developer, now you can claim to be a secure code developer. So
that is where I was going. That is what. So I can add that to my title. Say I am a secure developer.
So that there's still opportunity to differentiate yourself and have a unique selling point where companies will want to pay more money if they believe they are getting secure code. So there's still opportunity in it. I've seen where developers have lost a project because when they called in the pen testers to test this thing that the person built, it was hacked very easily and they lost the entire project because of that. Some companies will say, okay, we now know where the vulnerabilities are, and they will ask the developers to now fix it. But some companies will just completely get rid of the developer because it is going to cost them too much money to deal with the security implications of it. So there's opportunity now to be a secure code developer versus just a developer.
Thank you. So before we end, I want to introduce something that the Jamaican Developers Group is initiating, and it's called the Virtual Bootcamp, formerly known as the Virtual Classroom Program. And this is a 3 to 6 month program in software development for digital professionals to learn how to properly build, test, and deploy marketable solution for Jamaica, which is very like feasible and viable solution. So instead of you go learn something online and don't have any form of uh, means of practicing what you've done, this virtual classroom actually will create a virtual company for you to work remotely and collaborate with other developers to give you that company feel and experience that you're working in a team, developing software together, using Git, using and the different development strategies, project management strategies, Scrum methodologies, and the different technologies, all of it which will pack into one single program for developers to learn, collaborate, and just write some amazing software. And we are aiming to have up to 70 trainees, and we have currently 15 mentors and trainers readily available to take on these trainees and show them the ins and outs. We're going to focus on one single application, and that application we'll mention it in the orientation coming up next week. The 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 first event though, well, the classes are the bootcamp actually start on August 3rd, 2020, and it will go up to January, February. And we really want developers to come along to learn how to properly develop software solution and build great products that is viable and usable by the nation and the mass majority. um and the whole aim of this is to create a sustainable and scalable environment for digital professionals and consumers of technology to build and market their skills, learn and share their knowledge, collaborate, create a viable solution, work and earn a living remotely, and also contribute to society through code. Of course, security is a main aspect of software development, and this is one of the key ingredients that we're going to add to the program. So, the link for the program to sign up for the program will be in the description below. If you're interested, just click on it or reach out to us at community.jamaicans.dev and let us know that you're interested. So that's basically it for the discussion panel regarding upcoming events. There's one this Thursday, which is getting started with Git and Git workflows, which is basically a version control tool to ensure that code is easily integrated, shareable, and can work with remote teams as well as group in companies. Followed by
Sorry, Ocean. The time is 6 p.m. Also for these, all these are 6 p.m.
okay, yes, all of these are 6 p.m. except the one on Saturday, which is the 25th, which is getting started with Laravel. Um, every other event is basically 6 p.m. The time and so forth is on the meetup.com as well as on jamaicandevelopers.com website. I'll send out information about these after the meeting.
But
Um,
Oshay,
yes?
in which one of these sessions do I get to bash PHP and JavaScript? I'm not seeing that here in this list. What's going on here?
Oh,
Well,
quiet. Oh, quiet, Oswald. Oh, quiet.
well, honestly, it's there's something that I'm actually experiment on, which is, even though earlier I said it's not about the language, it's about the concept and the algorithm and so forth, which is very poetic. But I dislike PHP as well, but I have to give props to Laravel. So you might notice that there's a visual software testing robot versus Cypress. Jordan Jones and I had been a quarrel about which is better. So we are doing a verse off to ensure, we make our point that, like for me, robot is way better than Cypress. So if you're interested in, bashing something that Tremaine is using, just let me know. If Tremaine accept that challenge, we can just arrange a meeting about the difference between the two, how to use these software tools and the benefits of these software
I'm
tools.
not going to argue with Oswald, so you can cut me out of that one.
I mean, there's
Right?
not much to argue about, is there?
I'll remain silent on that.
All right. And the next, okay. So I spoke about the Flutter event. I'm seeking international, some developers from US, especially from Google, to talk about the Flutter. That's not fully arranged, but I'm hoping I get a response from them sometime this weekend. So it might be rescheduled, but as soon as I find out from them whether they can or not, I'll update the group. And then the next event is the career roadmap in software development, which is August 18th. But before that, there might be one other event which has not been officially launched, mainly because it's geared towards a demo day, a monthly demo day for developers to showcase something that they've done. Like for example, I can simply invite Oswald to just demo his right bill app, tracking app, or Tremaine to demo his ship me command line terminal. And this is for showcasing stuff that we've done and letting the public know about these applications that is being built by Jamaicans. So those are the next set of events that is coming up between this month and next. With that said, thank you all for Denise Simpson. No, it's not Denise. Patrick Witter. Do you have a question?
Yes, I would like to know where can I find the recording of the meeting.
Okay, so thank you for bringing that up. I will send out the recording for the meeting after this meeting once Zoom send me the video link. Another thing that I was supposed to say at the early parts in the meeting was to ask permission from everyone or give a notice that I'm interested in publishing this recording on YouTube for reference for anyone else who's interested in any of these topics. So if I'll send out a question regarding that, and if anyone has a problem with any of the section, you let me know, and I can just remove, like, your personal information if that's an issue. So I'll send you the link, the direct link. Otherwise, from that, I'm going to publish it on YouTube. Um, that's it, Patrick.
Could I have a bit more clarification? You said you're going to publish it on YouTube or...
Okay, so we're utilizing Zoom at the moment, which records the meeting. At the end of whenever I stop the meeting or stop the recording, a link is going to be generated. I'll send you. Are you a part of the meetup.com group on Facebook? On Meetup, for example, Meetup.
Yes, I'm a part of the group.
Yes, so I'll send the link to the group members there, as well as sometime later this week I'm going to publish the video after I do some video editing. I'm going to publish it on YouTube, which is the edited version, and that edited version will also be sent to the meetup group as well.
Okay, thanks.
All right. So is there any other question? I take that as a no. So thank you very much for attending, and thank you panelists for all the feedbacks and the talks we did. It was real insightful, and I enjoyed the event, and I hope all of you did as well. So until the next time, take care, stay COVID free, and be safe.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks again.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Everyone.